Hello, welcome back to another pen talk. Thanks for tuning in. This video we're going to try something a little different. Kind of think it's time for something different, but you know, something different and something the same. That's kind of where we're at, and that's where I'm at. So these are some recent acquisitions that I got in the mail from China. 3 of these are from Bobby and 1 isn't. So we have 2 new pen stands of different Buddhas, kind of like a child Buddha and a more mature Buddha. And this one holds the pen very well. As you can see, the hands are open, pen fits in very well. This one's not really designed for pens. I mean, you can put a pen there, but it's certainly not as secure as it is on the other Buddha. If you look at the little tag that was on the box, it looks like this is for like some type of hat to set in there. So it is a little bit different, but you know, it's interesting. It's well made. You know, I enjoy it, and it does kind of work as a pen stand. Both of these have, you know, the same type of detail like the frog one did. You know, the closed eyes, a classic stance. You know, it's well done. The gold painting is on there well. I enjoy this one a little bit nicer just because it's kind of a funny face, and again, it's designed more for holding a pen. Not quite as colorful as the Boy Buddha, but it certainly is nice and functional. And this was in the box that these came in, so I now have a piece of Chinese coinage to spend if I ever do make it over across the Pacific Ocean. Here's the auctions on the Buddhas. You know, they're at the same price range as the frog, so I think I've now reached my limit of pen holders made out of pottery that kind of have a little bit of humor associated with them, as well as some functionality. So let's start with this pen because I think it's more unique than the 618, which I basically got for just to add to my collection, and also I have some people that might be interested in that type of pen and nib combination. Interesting color. It's kind of a greenish tealish kind of plastic. Feels good in the hand, as all these kind of piston fill pens do. There's no pull to turn the piston. It slides very easily. And the other thing it does is it clicks in place. So that's nice. My 618's do not. I know a number of my other viewers have said that they do. The turning knob has these nice facets in it. Kind of makes gripping it nice and easy. And then it locks in place. It's secure. It's not going to turn accidentally. We have your classic Lamy wire clip. And like some of the other pens, this clip is not easy to use. It takes some effort to put into a pen case, to put into your pocket, but it's certainly going to stay there securely. The top finial is a nice silver plated, chrome plated material. Same type of ring down here at the bottom, and that's the ring that you would unscrew to remove the piston and clean it or relubricate it or whatever, but right now there's no reason to do that. I originally kind of expected this to be a pull-off cap, but it doesn't. It unscrews. About 2 turns to unscrew it. And we see your Lamy style nib. So I have a number of these. I also have some that were ground to a cursive italic, and that's probably what I would use in this pen. You know, you have your O-ring here, kind of reminiscent of the Twisbys that are made. Yeah, this is the one piece, kind of like the Eco. Clear feed, which is nice. The clear part of the piston. Too bad the piston itself, the piston seals weren't clear, because there are some pens that I have that is clear, and I think that really lends itself to the image. With most of these pens, it posts not very deeply, and it makes for a long pen, and it's a little bit back heavy with that cap. It's a little bit of metal in that cap, more than some of the other caps in this type of style, and it doesn't really post too securely. So I would say basically posting is not really recommended, but the pen is pretty long enough, it doesn't really need to be posted to fit in the hand well. The section doesn't have any facets in it like a typical Lamy design would, so it's smooth, but it is a little bit on the small side. There's no real cap liner inside there. You got your little screw. Always like my little trusty light. So you can see that screw in there that holds the finial on and also holds the clip in place. And this is a somewhat translucent plastic. It's not opaque, so that makes it interesting. No cap band at the bottom, but it feels pretty stable plastic, and it feels pretty strong, and it's a pretty good thickness, and those threads are inside away from the end, so I'm not concerned about longevity or cracking, and you know, you're not really going to post it that much, so therefore it should last pretty long. And what really attracted me was the price. You know, for $1.50 US, here's the eBay auction. It arrived in less than 2 weeks, so it's a no-brainer. Yeah, it's not exactly I would call my favorite color, but it does grow on me. So if you're interested in a $1.50 piston fill pen that's made pretty well and has a Lamy style nib on it, so you've got a lot of options there if you want to exchange that nib. On to the 618. So this is called the Bobby pen, primarily because of its unique styling. Black cap, black line cap here that runs up the piston, and this one you do pull off. There's little notches there, and it has the same type of smooth action and the same type of transparent. Some of the piston elements are transparent, but of course the actual piston seals are not. One of the things that I've noticed, because I use the 618's a lot, daily writers, is the cap is that initial turn to uncap it takes a little bit of effort, and it comes off in less than one turn. So that it obviously caps very securely, but I think it could feel a little bit better. If we take a look inside, we'll see that there's a liner in there, no screw, so that's nice. I've never had any drawing out issues on any of my 618's, and I've let them set for a couple weeks, uncapped them, and they write first time every time. Very consistent writers. So one thing I enjoy about the 618's is the variety that they come in. So here's a transparent one with gold trim, transparent with silver trim. Here's the one I just recently got, which is the only kind of like, you know, disparate one where the barrel and cap and piston knob are all, you know, are different colors. Here's an all black one with gold trim. Here's this beautiful green flash, which I put a gold nib in. Here it is in blue and red, kind of similar to the Century, you know, Chartreuse and Bourgogne models. But all these are great writers, everyday writers. I strongly recommend these pens to anybody who is interested in them. The hooded nibs, I think, if you get the fine instead of the extra fine, I think you'll find it to write very well. And I'm not going to necessarily ink up this one. I haven't decided where this pen is going to end up, so until then we'll leave it as is. But let's write with some of the other ones, and we'll show you how these nibs work. As we continue to work through my Fabriano pad, which has this leftover jellyfish spill that soaked through 5 pages. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the TV show Threshold that I enjoyed, and thought it was a great sci-fi show and had I think a perfect ending. So this is my really go-to pen. You know, less than a turn again to uncap it. And this one also, you get that bit of resistance. A lot of people complained about that in the Passaporto Stealth. So if you're not a fan of that and you want your threads to feel like they're well oiled and not feel resistance, then this is not a pen for you. But speaking of the Platinum Century Chartreuse, it's kind of like when that slip and seal cap, when you do that final turn that engages it, you get a little bit resistance, so it changes. So it's not unusual for pens to have that seal well. This fits well in the hand without posting, but it does post deep and securely, and it doesn't really change the balance. And I'll probably write with this posted. And the section is fine. You know, it's a replication of the Parker 51 section from a size and design viewpoint, and you can hold it anywhere. You don't really, you know, the threads are there, but you don't really feel them, and there's not really a step up above that. So wherever you want to hold it, wherever you're comfortable, this pen will accommodate you. I think you can, you know, hear that nib. You really don't get any real feedback. You know, it writes smooth. You don't require much pressure to put a nice line of ink on the paper. And you can lay down a good patch of ink without much effort. Dries quickly. This is Noodler's Blue upon the Plains of Abraham, that Canadian ink that I really, really like. It's totally bulletproof, so it's great for writing checks or signing contracts or anything like that that you want permanence. And as you can see on this paper, which is a little bit more absorbent than Rhody or Toma River or Clairefontaine, it dries very, very quickly. So I like the ink on many, many levels, and it's kind of a nice kind of blue-black color. But this just writes first time, every time. And I would call this a fine nib. And it's almost like a fine medium as far as the width goes. Now, if you look at the one that's fully transparent, you can see how those fins in the feed, you know, like the Parker 51 feeds. This is another pen, like this thing sat for about a month, and then I just took off the cap and it wrote first time. I mean, these are incredibly consistent pens. This is Robert Oster Deep Sea, at least I think it is. And again, you know, you can lay down a nice patch. This doesn't dry quite as quickly as, this could be Lake of Fire too. Yeah, whatever it is, I know it's a Robert Oster ink. So again, these pens are all consistent. You're not going to get any flex out of this nib, but that's not what it's designed for. And when you're doing quick notes and doing things like that, flex is not necessarily something that you're going to be able to take advantage of or use. So let's take a look at the red one. And this one, I made a change and I swapped out the normal nib for a Fude nib. And it is a Fude. This is a wide nib. And the feed keeps up well. You know, it's again, these pens are workhorse pens. Consistent in their design and manufacturing. And this is the one nib that I will show reverse, because then you get an extra fine nib. Not something I'd want to write with on a regular basis, but if you need to do some fine lines, it would certainly work for that. So I have a bent version of this tubular nib that I probably will use in a future review. And finally, we're going to look at the green one. I don't know whether this is still available on eBay. I'll go look. They came in a number of different colors, and they had these sparkles inside of it, which to me, getting that consistent level of sparkles from something that you're injection molding is not easy to do, and I'm impressed that they were able to do it. So this is another first time every time, and I would say this is an example of the extra fine nib. I don't know how much in the auctions. You'd have to take a look at seeing if they're actually going to tell you whether you got extra fine or fine nibs. I'm not aware of any of these coming in any other nib sizes. And this is also very smooth, consistent. You can write fast without an issue. So, great pens. Here's a comparison of two. Well, this one's not inexpensive. This is like the B698, another Bobby pen that he put together. And here's that no-name one. It's $1.50. And this is the one that has a clear piston seal in it, but the rest of the piston mechanism is not. You have that frosted glass, which is on some of the 618's. This is a pull-off cap. The section has those facets for positioning your fingers like the Lamy does, where this one does not, but they both have that same Lamy style nib. And this one I put in the 1.5 Chinese stub, so I could easily replace this nib, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not going to ink this pen up and write in this example, because there's plenty of other examples of these feeds and nibs that I've done in other videos, and the same type of wire clip on the cap. But you know, it's just, to me, these are interesting design elements and changes, and probably there might be some factories in China that make all of these parts, and in other factories that buy the parts off of a kind of a Chinese menu type of thing. I want this cap, I want this body, I want this feed, etc., and put together some unique pens, and we're benefited those by purchasing them. So this pen has sat for a week or two. It does not write. So I think, as you can see, the ink has come down away from the nib. So we're going to reprime it. And this is one of those that pulls off. And as we turn the knob, you'll see it takes a number of turns to start getting that ink filling up. And now as it comes up to the nib, we're going to find a place to put that, snap it back in place. And let's see if it will write now. So I want to show you there's a nice cap liner in there. And that really should keep that nib from drying out. I don't know whether that's something I need to unscrew up here and maybe put in some glue to seal it completely, but something I'll look at off camera and figure out what we want to do. I mean, it's still requiring some effort. We'll go off camera. So this took way too much effort to get this nib to write. And I've used this pen consistently for a number of weeks, and it wrote fine, but then I've let it set for a couple weeks, and you know, repriming it, wetting the nib, it just took a lot of effort. Once you do that, it works well. So this is, at least we're talking about it. Yeah, this is Roher and Klinger Scabiosa, which is an iron gall ink. So that may have something to do with the hard starts, but you know, now it's working fine. So we're at the end of this video. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed a quick look at a number of different things. May you have many great, wonderful, exciting, invigorating, stimulating pen experiences. Enjoy this wonderful world that we have an opportunity to take part in. So this is the end for now. You can still see this nib is not as forgiving because it is a fairly big stub, so writing over the camera, if the angle isn't just quite right, you're going to get this type of skipping. But it doesn't concern me because that's the nature of this nib. So until the next video, bye for now. Enjoy your day.